You mentioned briefly Brown's ability to run, but also pretty good debut throwing the ball. Just in general, what did you see? What were your impressions? His first start and like it went about as well as it could have.
Yeah, I think he's a good quarterback. It's a really impressive quarterback. He's a young guy. Had good command of the system and what they were trying to accomplish. So definitely creates some challenges.
Front left, James.
Much of the commentary world has decided and struck you as a genius, Stan, for the 12-man penalty and declared that it was intentional. Was it indeed intentional to induce the throw one-on-one against Jabbar in that spot?
It wasn't one-on-one. We actually had a safety on top. So there was so it's called dog. It's when you play, but he wasn't in an extremely tight coverage, but he was in dog coverage where he had safety on top of him. And there was a timeout before that. We spent an inordinate amount of time on situations. There's some situations that don't show up very often in college football, but this is one that obviously was something that we have worked on. So you could see the result.
On the right, Zach.
Talk about victory hangover sometimes, but after a big game like this, is it almost sometimes easier to jump right back into the work because you're excited to go, especially on a short week?
Say it again.
We talk about victory hangover sometimes, hangover from victory. Is it sometimes easier, though, to jump back into the work on a short week just because you're excited to get back in?
Yeah, I mean, football's fun. Football's exciting, so I don't think it's hard for us to get back and get to work. But you do have to squeeze a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, right? And that's the challenge of making sure you're still really consistent and thorough with what matters. Not putting too much on your players in a short window, but it's not hard to get excited about going to play football.
Purdue probably didn't have their best game against Oregon State, but when a team faces an opponent that you've already faced, how much do you read into that film, and what are you taking away from that? Or do you more so just focus on the last game to see what's most similar about that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is evaluating where they're at now. And what I see right now is a team that's grown and gotten better and better. I know they've given up a few more points this past week than they had so far this season, but they're continuing to fight. You see a team that's playing really hard and doing some really good things.
Right, Brett.
Coach, how important was it to have the game that Evan Stewart had last weekend, and do you just see the progress of him adjusting week by week in this team and moving forward for the rest of this year with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it before after the game that sometimes you don't know when your number's going to be called. Not every play is designed to go to just one person, but I think Evan did a great job of taking advantage of the opportunities when the ball did get put in his direction, and he had opportunities to go make plays on the ball. And there's been some other moments this year where he probably could have had those opportunities, and maybe the ball just didn't go his way. So he took advantage of those opportunities, and I certainly expect him to do that in the future.
I don't know if we've asked you much about Jaden Moore, but that's somebody who didn't play last year and is now finding some role in this defense, maybe more with if Jordan's out for an extended period. What has he shown to earn that role, and what does he bring to your defense? Yeah,
in practice, Jaden's always been one of the hardest guys for us to block. He does a really good job in pass rush situations for us, and has earned that opportunity with the way that he's executed at practice. So seeing that and having guys being down and a couple guys in certain roles, I think that grew his role, and it's somebody that can take advantage of that.
Front left, James.
What explanation, if any, did you get for the ineligible man downfield call during the game, and what have you gotten since? Because between the misannouncement that it was Tez when he wasn't on the field, and it certainly looked like a not covered up Kenyon, it seemed very confusing.
Yeah, we sent it in, and they told us they got it wrong. So, in the game, they told us they got it right.
Back left, Aaron.
I know UCLA was your first technical Big Ten road trip, but Purdue will be the first time that you're facing an opponent that wasn't in your same conference last year. And then some more Big Ten opponents down the stretch that you'll get the chance to go on the road and play this year. Have you sensed any extra excitement from the team at all about finally going to get to play some of these teams and at places that some of them might not have played before?
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly a venue I haven't been to before. I'm sure our players might feel the same way, but for us, it's always about focusing on the week that we're in. So this is an exciting one for us. Get an opportunity again to play on a Friday night in a primetime window at a place that we haven't been.
All right, Zach.
We saw Kyler on a boot and a scooter. Do you anticipate him to come back this year?
Yeah, I don't know the timeline right now on Kyler. It might be hard to see him back this year, but I won't put limitations on him and his ability to get back.
Front left, James.
From Purdue's defense in particular, just what stands out about 31 and 4 for what they bring in terms of disruption?
Yeah, I mean, obviously 31's a guy that can play sideline to sideline. They play their safety a little deeper than some teams traditionally. It allows him to really play almost like a flat foot read player back there that can see the ball and react to the ball. And he's a really talented player. He does a great job of doing that and finding himself, around the ball consistently. And, forward obviously does a great job inside at backer, and then at times even on the edge, they move him around quite a bit to create matchups. So they do a good job. It's hard to know exactly what they're in. They're probably one of the better defenses is at disguising their coverage and what that looks like. So definitely presents some challenges there.
Coach, are there any thoughts about making a change at the kicker position? I know Atticus has had some struggles this season, missed a couple field goals. What's kind of the situation when it comes to the main kicker when it comes to special teams?
Yeah, we chart every single day in competitive situations at our practices. We get a lot of reps at it. Atticus has proven to do a good job in situations given the opportunity, and not always put in the easiest situations to be able to go execute. But the hold wasn't exactly right for Atticus in that situation either. So you always have to evaluate the whole picture and not just a small subset or seeing it from the sideline view.
Second row left, Eric. What else stands out about their offense? You touched on a little bit earlier. I know they use their tight end more than some teams. Or are there things there that are unique?
Yeah, they have a really good tight end. He's a really, really talented player. He's targeted as much as any tight end in the nation. They do a great job moving him around and creating some challenging matchups there, and a lot of run-pass conflict where there's a run one direction with an RPO or a potential pop pass another direction. So I think that's a good challenge from them.
Front left, James.
What did you see from Nico this past week, particularly given the magnitude of the test, and compare that to what you saw from him last year, even going back to the conference title game against an elite receiving core, and how much improvement and development has there been for a senior in that role?
Yeah, I think Nico's grown a ton, and I think he went out there and competed his tail off on Saturday with one of the biggest challenges that he's been able to face. And there's moments there that he won, and there's moments that he didn't win. But what you see is a guy that's grown and gotten better and better. That we certainly have a level of confidence in, as well as a lot of those other guys in the secondary that are doing a good job.
Last question, James.
To go back to touch on the special teams for a moment, Dan, why even mess with the battery on place kicking at all? Like, why have Luke hold when Ross has usually done it, at least early in games before it starts getting uncompetitive or something? Why even make
actually, yeah, Luke's held all year for us this year. He's held all year in practice, so that's not something that's new or different. He's done it so far in the season for us. Each kicker usually gets comfortable with a certain guy at holder, and they get a lot of reps in practice at it. But we have multiple guys that can do it, and that's why you do.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.